"Move your cart, cleaner. You're in the way." Just 7 words, sharp and cold, slicing through the morning chaos of the office. The man who said them, a senior VP in a suit that cost more than a car, didn't even slow down. He kicked the yellow bucket, sending dirty water sloshing across the marble floor. "Now you have a real mess. Clean it up." The cleaner, an old man with tired eyes, slowly looked up. His gaze was quiet, steady, and held a story that no one in that lobby could ever guess. They all saw a cleaner. A nobody. What they didn't see was the man who owned the very building they were standing in. And he was paying very close attention. Julian Croft was basically a ghost in his own empire. At 45, he was the founder and CEO of Stellaron Corp., a $2 billion tech giant he'd started from his college dorm room. He had it all: penthouses on 3 continents, a private jet, a seat at the world's most powerful tables. But when he looked in the mirror, he didn't recognize the man staring back. His world was padded by layers of yes-men and ambitious executives who smiled to his face while sharpening knives behind his back. The genuine human connection he once craved had been replaced by the cold, hard math of power. He was just tired. Tired of the fake compliments, the backstabbing, and most of all, tired of not knowing who to trust. His closest confidant, COO David Chin, had warned him about a creeping toxicity in the company. A culture of arrogance and disrespect was poisoning the heart of everything he'd built. Julian needed to see it for himself, to rip away the polished corporate mask and see what was really underneath. The plan was simple but crazy. Julian Croft would vanish. In his place, Arthur, a 65-year-old cleaner just a few years from retirement. With a little Hollywood magic, his sharp features were softened into a map of wrinkles, his hair turned silver, and his posture was bent into a permanent, humble stoop. Only David Chin knew the truth. "Are you sure about this, Julian?" David had asked, his face a mask of concern. "Absolutely," Julian replied, his voice already a gravelly imitation of his new identity. "It's time to see who my people really are when they think no one's watching." And just like that, on a cold Monday morning, Arthur the cleaner clocked in, pushing a cart into a world he owned but no longer recognized. The first few days were a masterclass in being invisible. Employees would brush past him without a glance, drop their trash just inches from a bin, and talk right through him as if he were part of the furniture. He learned more about his own company in 72 hours of mopping floors than he had in 5 years of board meetings. He saw the raw stress on the faces of junior employees and heard their quiet complaints about impossible deadlines and the managers who were supposed to be leading them. The main source of this poison was a guy named Marcus Vance, the senior VP of product development. He was the one who had kicked the bucket. Marcus moved through the office like he owned the place, radiating smug superiority. He would publicly humiliate his team, steal their ideas, and treat the cleaning staff with a sneer that made Julian's blood boil. Arthur quickly became his favorite target. "Did you get that spot, old man?" he'd taunt, pointing at nothing. "My toddler is cleaner than you. But where there's darkness, there's often a little light." Her name was Clara, a junior programmer on Marcus's team. She was brilliant but shy, usually ignored in meetings while Marcus passed off her work as his own. One afternoon, as Arthur was quietly eating a sad-looking sandwich in the break room, Clara walked up to him. "You work harder than anyone here," she said softly, offering him half of her own lunch. "You deserve a proper meal." Julian was floored. It was the first act of pure, unprompted kindness he'd experienced in years. He started watching Clara. He saw her staying late to help her co-workers, defending other junior team members from Marcus's rants, and he saw the genius in her code that Marcus would present as his own the very next day. Then everything escalated. Late one night, while emptying the trash in a supposedly empty conference room, Julian overheard Marcus on the phone. He was finalizing a deal to sell the source code for Stellaron's new flagship AI, Project Chimera, to a competitor. This project was Julian's baby, the future of the entire company. And Marcus was about to sell it for a quick payday. He mentioned a final data transfer scheduled for 2 days later, right before the big quarterly address. Julian realized with a sickening gut punch that Marcus was using Clara's latest work, twisting her brilliance into an act of treason. The disrespect was one thing. This was betrayal. The day of the quarterly address arrived, and the company auditorium was buzzing. Hundreds of employees, from interns to executives, filled the seats. Julian, still disguised as Arthur, was quietly tidying up backstage, his heart hammering in his chest. He had already given all the evidence, recordings, recovered emails, data transfer logs, to David Chin. From the wings, he watched Marcus stroll onto the stage to a round of applause, looking like he didn't have a care in the world. Clara was in the front row looking crushed. The day before, Marcus had publicly blamed her for a critical flaw in the Chimera Code, a flaw he had planted himself to cover his tracks and set her up as the fall guy. David Chin stepped up to the podium and started the meeting. He ran through the numbers, the projections, the usual corporate song and dance. Marcus sat in the front row, a smug grin on his face, looking every bit the conquering hero. He had no idea his world was about to implode. Then David paused. He looked out over the crowd, his eyes scanning the room until they landed on the old cleaner standing in the shadows. The auditorium went quiet. "Before we continue," David said, his voice ringing with authority, "I'd like to ask a member of our team to come forward. He's been conducting a very special hands-on review of our company's culture. Arthur, would you please join me on stage?" A wave of confusion swept through the audience. Marcus Vance actually scoffed, rolling his eyes. "A cleaner? On stage?" All eyes turned as the old man slowly shuffled toward the podium. As Arthur stepped into the spotlight, he did something unexpected. He stood up straight, the weary stoop completely gone. He reached up and in one smooth move, peeled the latex wrinkles from his face. He took off the gray wig, revealing the unmistakable, sharp features of their founder. Gasps echoed through the hall. Marcus Vance's face went ghost white. His smug grin dissolved into a mask of pure shock. "Good morning," Julian Croft said into the microphone. His voice was no longer Arthur's gravelly rasp. It was the calm, powerful tone of a CEO. "For the past month, I've had the honor of serving you as Arthur. I wanted to see the company I built not from the top down, but from the ground up." He locked eyes with Marcus. "And what I saw," he said, his voice turning to steel, "was deeply disturbing. I saw arrogance. I saw disrespect. I saw a manager who thought his title gave him the right to humiliate anyone he decided was beneath him." Julian's gaze swept over the stunned crowd. "A company's strength isn't its stock price. It's its people. All of its people." He then turned his full attention to the paralyzed VP. "Marcus Vance, I saw you belittle your team. I saw you steal credit for their work. And I have undeniable proof that you tried to sell Project Chimera to our competitors." On the giant screen behind him, incriminating emails and data logs flashed for everyone to see. The final slide was a bank statement showing a massive deposit into Marcus's offshore account. The silence was deafening. "Security," Julian said calmly. "Please escort Mr. Vance from the building. His employment is terminated, effective immediately." 2 guards moved in, and a sputtering, defeated Marcus was led away. Julian's expression softened as he looked to the front row and found Clara. She was staring, her eyes wide with a mix of shock and dawning realization. "Clara," he said gently, "please come up here." Trembling, she made her way to the stage. Julian smiled warmly. "For the past month, I've watched you embody the true spirit of this company. You've shown kindness, integrity, and a brilliance you were too humble to claim. That critical flaw Mr. Vance found yesterday? I watched you write the original, perfect code. You changed it. The real genius behind Project Chimera wasn't him. It was you." He turned back to the audience. "Effective immediately, I'm promoting Clara to be the new director of the Project Chimera division, with a full team and all the resources she needs." A wave of genuine, thunderous applause erupted through the hall. Clara stood speechless, tears of vindication streaming down her face. Julian shook her hand, not as a boss to an employee but as one colleague to another. This story is a powerful reminder, isn't it? A person's value isn't defined by their job title, but by their character. What would you have done if you were in Julian's or Clara's shoes? Let us know what you think in the comments. And if you believe that integrity and kindness are the real keys to success, make sure to like this video and subscribe for more stories that inspire. In the weeks that followed, Stellaron Corp went through a massive culture shift. Julian didn't just fire one bad manager. He completely rebuilt the company's foundation to reward teamwork and protect all of his employees. The story of Arthur the Cleaner became a legend around the office, a powerful lesson that you never know who's watching. And leading the company's most important project, a brilliant and kind young woman was finally getting her chance to shine, proving that true leadership isn't about power, it's about the respect you show to every single person from the boardroom to the break room.